My mic sound nice. Baby, yeah. That's one thing. Okay, we hot. Mic's on. Let's get into today's video.
The more and more
Alright,
that we ignore these differences, the
alright.
more and more we're
Today's
gonna.
reaction video discussion is gonna come from the Ask a Brother podcast. Ask a Brother Jeff St. James. Uh, he's been doing some numbers on the internet recently. Been called the new Kevin Samuels. But I think the brother's very intelligent in his own right. Today's the topic. The topic. Today's topic is over. Kind of aside a little bit broader than dating. Just some of the socialization uh, that is different for men, women, boys, and girls, and why today's standard is men and boys are struggling with today's more feminized, softer standard on things. And so I'm not gonna ramble on. I'm gonna let the video start, and then I'll just kind of jump in with commentary as they continue to break down too. Let's get it cracking.
Elevate one perspective over another. I want to hear from different voices. I don't want to just hear from people that agree with me. We're about to dive into some even deeper topics. Ask a Brother Podcast.
Ask a Brother Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Ask a Brother Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff St. James. You know, the revolution is going to be because of us. This is so fascinating. So, have you seen in the studies and work that you looked into? Have they found this stuff very early in terms of distinct differences between the sexes? Like any particular studies that you could think of off the top of your head?
Very early. So there's one study that they did where they literally infants, 6 to 9 months old. Okay, this is
Mm-hmm.
pre-consciousness. They
Way
sat
past
them.
socialization, folks. Way past. So for the feminist crowd, that's all blank slate theory. Y'all need to listen to this. Go ahead. What
Yeah,
you think?
I'm vehemently anti-blank slate theory.
Uh,
And basically, they sat these infants down on their parents' laps, and they showed
I'm
them
going to
this
look
little.
into that. I'm assuming blank slate theory is, I guess, a theory that without socialization, basically boys and girls would kind of develop equally. So, obviously they're flying in the opposition of that, and I'm going to do some more research on really, because this is my first time kind of hearing that, but just by putting it together, I've heard the idea come from, you know, feminists and the non-binary crowd that the only reason men and women behave differently is because they've been programmed and everything. If they had a blank slate, that they would basically behave in the same way. So the only difference is the genitals or something, or whatever. So it's totally ridiculous, but this is gonna oppose that.
10-second video of they would show both either a babe basically they would show a person with a balloon, and they would show a person either hugging the balloon or
mhm,
hitting the balloon. They would
mhm,
show both videos to boys and girls, and then they would give the boy and the girl a balloon, and lo and behold, they got to choose what they did with the balloon. The girls hugged the balloon, the boys hit the balloon.
mm,
It's like a fundamental difference in temperament
mhm,
and testosterone versus estrogen. This is
mhm,
all just the difference in aggressiveness versus non-aggressiveness. We've seen the
mhm.
difference in the way
Them
boys
boys gonna hit
play
the shit
versus the
out
way
that balloon.
girls play.
Yeah.
Again, this has nothing to do with like individual intellect, emotionality. boys and girls are like equally
Fundamentally,
as
out the
smart.
crib, the temperament is different. Just right away, and this is God. This is nature. This is God's work. I feel like we try to overthink what is already baked into the cake. We do too much trying to rework the natural order of things that we find ourselves, in trouble with low replacement and low birth rates, and it's kind of all our fault. I'm gonna have to go
He is
back. It's
emotional.
coming in late. Let me go back
Do with
by 5
boys play versus the way girls play.
Yeah.
Again, this has nothing to do with like individual intellect, emotionality. Boys and girls are like equally as smart, equally as emotional. They just showcase it differently. That's the important differences. And no one wants to have these conversations. Like, it's not about the what, it's about the how.
Well, I think the reason why is because the ramifications and consequences of how we've gone about educating and correcting the sexes, where one is more ideal than the other. Yeah, if you have to go back and reevaluate, what
Correct.
if the way in which we've been
I'm
treating
gonna
the
chime in on
boys
that.
in the educational system was always designed to send a percentage of them to the prison pipeline, just because we're trying to socialize something out of them that's genetically a part of who they are.
Right.
As far as like you said, that extra energy and that physicality, and it's like on top of that, it's like as a therapist, me jumping into this space, I noticed it in therapy sessions where it was always kind of predicated on how she felt and whether or not she wanted it, like the therapist and the therapist agreed with her. And if she felt validated, then the therapy is working. And I'm just like, in that in her and even in terms of like you mentioned, how a lot of times the ladies, their way of emoting is one in terms of connection where it's a lot more verbal, and they use a lot more words than men, generally speaking. And when they feel like he's not doing that or matching that, he's dropping the ball. And because he's not matching where she is in terms of how she feels most connected and most able to express herself. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I see how this shows up in the therapy session.
Yeah.
I see how this, especially couples therapy and the schools to the psychology field.
Especially
I'm like,
school.
the more and more that we ignore these differences, the more and more we're going to elevate one perspective over another. And this is why men drop out of treatment.
Yeah.
This is why they say therapy isn't for me. Because if we're holding up a general model that's both maybe biological and sociological to varying degrees, because I do believe in a little nature versus nurture.
Totally.
But if you're basically upholding how women tend to view, express, and do things, and saying this is the perfect way, this is emotional intelligence, not what y'all do, I could see what happens.
Right.
It's like when you keep trying to turn men into your girlfriends, there's going to be unintended consequences. So how have
Yeah,
women?
I mean, one of the biggest part, and this kind of dips into the schools, it dips into dating. But I heard the other day said that we're gonna socialize men out of what typically we need out of men, our warriors and things like that. We're gonna socialize them out to where several generations from now, or even now, we're even having women ask where all the old school men are at, or the type of men that you would want to be protecting provider. You're kind of desocializing them out of developing into that. They have to. A boy has to develop into the type of man that carries society, provides for his family, sacrifices for his children and his wife, may even sacrifice his life for his country. A boy has to grow into that type of confident man that people want to depend on, and it takes a different kind of road, or I would say crucible, than maybe the women do, and that may be old fashioned. But I just think when you take out these tough lessons for boys, you end up with exactly what you want. A bunch of, a softer, more effeminized male who isn't helpful to anybody in the long run. I mean, he might be good to gossip with, but to be honest with you, when you're looking for somebody strong to protect, or somebody to be the rock, so you're not looking for, your more effeminate guys. All right, this is taking. I gotta go back about 10 seconds at least because it take a while for the sound. My
Saying
sound
this
to
is
come
the
back in.
perfect way. This is emotional intelligence, not what y'all do. I can see what happens. It's like when you keep trying to turn men into your girlfriends.
Yeah.
It could be unintended consequences. So how have women
And then you'll
responded?
complain about there not being any more, real men. Well, shit, as soon as a man steps to be a real man, then the verbiage is he toxic. Toxic used to really mean something. It meant, some of your most violent men could be toxic in the way. But now just teaching your little boy to play with Tonka trucks is viewed as toxic. Anything now, once you let that horse out of the barn, now anything now that represents male space is toxic to some feminists.
To you when you've been putting this stuff out on so because remember when we put it on the internet, everybody has to see it. And how had the ladies engaged in this? Because typically they don't like the differences when I put them out there.
Yeah, to be honest with you, most of my audience is men. It's 80-20, but I do have more and more women. When I first started, it was like 90-10. So I'm growing. We got the ladies coming online. So, I think, women can succumb to groupthink a little bit more easily. And it's just a reality of female nuance and female behavior. Female survival depended on the other women liking you because if your man died in battle, then like you needed this woman to help you with your kids. Otherwise, you weren't going to eat. And we're still the same humans as we were a couple,
Understood, and that's understood. When you look deeper into our history, it's understood why we've evolved to be like we are. Men. And I gotta admit, men are typically, a little more braver and bolder about being individual, and we can protect ourselves. So we're not really at least I can speak for myself, as interested as being liked or fitting in with the group. We can be renegade and still be confident. I can imagine that it could be harder for a woman who, let's just say for this term, is weaker in some ways, in a weaker shell, to feel confident to just totally go against the group where she may need a community for protection. So kind of getting along and going with the group think is something that is actually biologically smart for the female, right? But it doesn't come natural to men to give a fuck about what nobody else think. You know what I mean? If they don't agree with me, I'll just, I'll outcompete them or I'll conquer them in some way. I don't have to go along to get along, right? And so that can be viewed as toxic, but it's just kind of, one of the differences that makes a masculine man masculine is, first of all, he's confident enough in his own abilities that he doesn't need approval from the bigger group.
And just because we have the internet doesn't mean that we're suddenly, these
evolved.
Like superhuman. We're not that evolved. That's the reality.
Listen, some would say we've devolved. We've probably been regressing in some respects.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Yeah, I think there's not a lot of openness, but usually there's.
And I think the internet has helped to highlight more of our differences in not the best way. It has helped create a larger chasm in between the sexes. I don't think it's been a great advantage. It's been a great advancement, of course, the internet, but social media has definitely been a place that has really kind of exacerbated some of the different ways we look at life and things like that. I mean, for one example, I can remember kind of my uncles having an issue with my aunts, kind of sharing too much information with her friends about their marriage. They just kind of were, sharing with their girlfriends things that my uncles may have felt like was family business. Okay, well, if you had to worry about gossip and pillow talk, before the internet, imagine when she opens a podcast. You know what I mean? And now, you have couples who are dealing with personal issues, and one of the partners decides to, share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram, share it on their podcast, and now what is private is now public, and now everybody's putting their 2 cents in your business. A situation that could have been handled in house and squashed. You know what I'm saying? Privately, now you got to save face because you got 2,500 followers commenting on your relationship and shit. And whose fault is it? Who went public with the shit first? You know what I mean? So, that's just one of the downsides of this wonderful world of the internet and social media, and everybody having a microphone and everybody having a cell phone and everybody having airtime like I do right now. Is you got to be careful when you're emotional what you hit record on and broadcast.
When the mind is just full of other information. So I've tried to be as, philosophical and scientific as possible. Like, there's something called fluid intelligence. Boys have this incredible knack for pattern recognition and depth perception. And boys can take objects at a distance, like 100 yards away, and they can flip them 360, and they can like shift them in their brains. And that's why they're so good at sports and battle and
spatial
stuff and building. And it's like, who's getting excited about boys and their brains? I am. And so, but we don't have like conversations like that. And it's really unfortunate because men are incredible. And just on a personal level, like I'll ask all the ladies listening, all the ladies I know, we get overwhelmed because we're so we succumb to the environment. We have that diffuse focus because we can see everything. It's like the environment yells at us, and men don't usually get that as deeply as we feel it. It's like, so we have to have all the little things done before we go on a trip because their environment yells at us. And then when we have a man that is singular focused and grounded, he's like, hey, here are the 5 things. Here's the number 1 priority. I got you. You're good. It is like,
It's supposed to be. I think what's happening in terms of especially relationships, a lot of ladies don't realize that's his role, and they think he's supposed to jump on to their wave of emotions and do the same thing. And I'm like, that's not how you do it. And
opposites attract. You know what I'm saying? Polar opposites attract. Same thing work with magnets. One yin and yang, one is supposed to balance the other. And if we continue to try to socialize young men, boys, into like I said earlier, feeling, thinking, and doing just like women, then you basically gonna have a lot more girlfriend and less less providers. You know what I'm saying? As these generations play out.
I'll give an example. The woman that she's fed up, she's been freaking out, she's going off about the trash, and and the trash being taken out. Something
always
like that.
the trash.
She's always top 3: trash, laundry, and
toilet seat.
Dishes, usually in that order, right? So with the trash,
you left the toilet seat up.
I've noticed when talking with
I fell in because I didn't turn around and look before I sat down.
Clients, whether it's from consultations or even therapy sessions, when they bring up these type of moments, I always ask them like, hey, did it bother you that he hadn't done it, or did it bother you that he hadn't done it when you wanted him to do it? And with a little prodding, 90% of the time, it's actually about the and you mentioned it, that emotional uh external stimulation, it's bringing something in them that wants them to kind of calm that down. Like they want that to be resolved. They want it to be fixed because they're feeling it in the moment. And he's like, ah, I'll get to it later. And for her, it's like, no, we're gonna do this now. And it's like, and I'm realizing like that's often what it is when she's experiencing and feeling so many different things simultaneously, she's wanting the reprieve. She's wanting to feel that address. She's wanting to feel her emotions and her anxiety starting to come down from it. And when a guy doesn't immediately jump in to do that, she now sees that as the issue versus whether or not the fact that she wants something done about it in that moment. And she's an externalizer. So rather than this is something I maybe need to address myself, let go of, move on from. No, this is your problem that you need to fix for me to feel better. And I'm like, oh my God, this is how you're framing it. It's like it's giving an external, it's giving an external framework for what's happening internally for them. And that makes sense to me why it takes me about 3 sessions to get them to understand like not everything you feel is the responsibility of the external world or the man that you're with.
All right, look like that's enough of that for right now. That's the wrap up on that
If
one.
I'm in a fucked up position, bro, I don't give.
I'm gonna come back and do this one another time. I might do that. I might just I might come on. Let me stop.